Hello there, folks. I'm Dan Brown from a sort of interesting life.com. You're joining me on board good old Narrowboat Tilly, and we're about to head off down the canal and over fields to cycle into Oswestry. But hang on a minute, let's sort this puncture out first. Right then, now that you can see just where all of the punctures along this stretch of canal are coming from, these very prickly hedges that stretch for about a mile in this sort of area back up the canal there. And really, this is a very unusual biking route in, as it requires a lot of walking through fields of crops with your bike, which is definitely not standard practice. And as you can see, you can understand why, through all this part going down past the Frankton Locks here, I decided to push my bike until we got away from all of those rather unpleasant looking hedgerows. So, we're travelling from the Frankton Junction into Oswestry, and we're going to go via Babbins Wood at the back of Whittington, for anyone who knows the local area. This is the very tiny Graham Palmer lock, and that's the lock that's tiny, not Graham Palmer. And this is where our trip starts to get a little bit odd, as we're going to cut across two fields here, over that stile and into the field here. So you can imagine again that this is not a place to be riding your bike, even if the crops weren't there. Now, some people will be like, whoa, what are you doing walking over fields? Particularly if you're from overseas, you might not be familiar with this, but this is what a proper right-of-way looks when the farmers have actually maintained it properly, with that great big channel for people to walk through the fields of crops. But as you can see here, we unfortunately don't get that luxury, which leads to some very wet feet and some very slow progress across those crop fields, especially as they grow a bit bigger. But even just in this area, there's some fields to go, say, from Oswestry, Middleton Pool over to Whittington, where the crops will grow up over your head height, and the farmers leave just these great little channels to walk through. And again, that's one of the great things that I love about the British and Welsh and Scottish countryside, really, where you've got all of these rights of way and they wind through some of the most obscure places you can imagine. So we're finally actually doing some biking here, and the thing that you'll probably notice is that no matter how many clips I show you, all these roads look the same. I think that it's particularly true that a lot of these country roads look the same over the winter months, when all of the hedgerows are dyed back and it's just a very brown looking world, I suppose. Now, one of the features that does set this part of the world apart, in this very small part of the world, is that you have the River Perry running under the road here. Oh, canals on my mind. Now, an interesting side note here. The grandfather of one of my friends used to walk down to this bridge in the past, up until his passing, unfortunately, and he'd leave a little sticker off the apple that he was eating on the bridge here, and you can still to this day see the last little remnants of the stickers where he'd stick the things on. So that's a little random bit of history in action there. So, we finally get all through Babbins Wood and all the rest of it, and here we are. We're about to pass by the, I don't know if it's OTI or something like that, the little oil refinery place, as we've always called it. And again, you can see that this is a very, very bumpy looking road, and I've had to cut out so much of this trip because so much of the roads, particularly this road all the way up to Queen's Head again, where Tilly is as I'm actually recording this video right now, it's a very, very bumpy long road, and it's very straight, so you never feel like you're making any progress. Now, finally, here we are, getting towards town, where you can actually see Oswestry on the sign there, although we're not actually going the way that it's pointing towards Oswestry. Just thought I'd throw in that little clip of some heavy-duty farm vehicle there, as those are definitely the sort of vehicles you want to watch out for when you're on a bike, of all things, going down these little country lanes. This is Middleton Pool, where in my younger years I spent a lot of time doing some astronomy, and now it's got a private keep out sign there, unfortunately, but who knows how strictly that is upheld. And I suppose really the last mark before we get into Oswestry itself is crossing over the bypass here. This is, depending on how you want to look at it, the first mark that you're getting into Oswestry, or the last mark of real civilization if you're heading out of Oswestry. So here we are, just entering into the town. I hope you've enjoyed this random little ride and trudge across some fields. But until the next time, keep it bike worthy. Check out the links in the description for loads of boat life and books and all sorts. But have an absolutely fantastic day, keep it boat worthy, and of course, farewell.